Hey team, this is Nathan from RunDreamAchieve.com. Today's topic, I wanted to make a video on sub 3 hour marathon race strategy because I was recently asked a question by one of my viewers who said, could you prepare a video with a pace strategy for a sub 3 hour marathon? I know the correct pace to not overstress my muscles trying to recover lost time in first half of my race distance. Thanks. He also mentioned that he knows that negative split is the best option. Yeah, I mean, a negative split is the best option for most people. When I ran my PR of 2:19.35, I went out in 1:07.06 and then came back my second half with a 1:12.26. So I didn't really, I was running far too aggressive in that particular race. Sometimes you're gonna, if you're in phenomenal anaerobic shape, then you do want to take those risks along the way. And as long as you're able to maintain that pace, or if you go out much faster than goal race pace, then of course you have that buffer in the second half because you took off so fast in the first half. But mind you, it is much more of a strategic plan to do a negative split, meaning you go out much slower the first half and come back much faster in the second half. The way I would do it, if I were looking back now, is definitely do a negative split. Go out no faster than 1:29, an hour and 29 minutes the first half, and then try to come back running between an hour and 25 minutes to an hour and 27 minutes. That will get you well below that 3 hour goal barrier that you need, that you're going for. And like I talk about in other videos, I mean, you really have to do so many things correctly to get the marathon right. Sometimes you can do everything right in training. You can really focus on a higher percentage of your weekly volume, training at, near, and far below your goal race pace. In this case, sub 3 hours to the marathon. But sometimes you can do, like I said, you can do everything right and it still doesn't pan out. And I've been there before. And the key thing is to maintain focus and not spend too much time dwelling on bad performances in the past. Learn from those performances and really do the very best you can to make sure you don't continue to make the same mistakes that you made in the past. If you're going to run a sub 3 hour marathon, going out the first half in an hour and 20 minutes is far too aggressive. I mean, you're running at 2:40 marathon pace. Unless you feel really confident, I would I would advise not going out that fast. A big mistake that a lot of us make as marathoners is we get caught up with the hype of the early stages of the race. And if you're going out and you're running fast in the first half, the marathon is not a 13.1 mile race. So you have to be mindful of your pacing strategy early on in the race. And most importantly, prior to the start of the race, have a plan in place. Like I said, if you're going to go after a 2:59 or faster, then focus on going no faster than 1:29 through that first half. Even going out somewhat slower than that, maybe like 1:30 to 1:31 the first half, and then coming back really hard in that last half. When I was running my marathons at my peak, I broke it up differently. You hear a lot of people say that there's the first 20 miles and then the last 10K. My strategy was to run as hard as I could up to the 16-mile mark, or run conservative but still aggressive up to the 16-mile mark and make it a 10-mile race. Really focus, drilling down well below goal race pace in the last 10 miles. And it's like I said, it's very difficult when you're in a marathon and you really want to run fast and there's you have great competition. It's very difficult to back off early on in your racing. But be patient. Focus on 6:52 to 7 minute mile pace. That first half. Again, you need to hold 6:52 mile pace, or I think it's 4:16 per kilometer for 42.2K. So you have to be very, very aware of your pacing early on. I think wearing a Garmin and saying early on before you start the race, setting mile splits to beep every 6 minutes and 55 seconds may not it may be a good strategy for some people, but not for others, because if you get to the first mile, or you get to a certain mile split or mile point in the race, maybe the first 10 miles, and you're well behind goal race pace, then it can really play on you it can really play on you mentally. When I ran 2:19, I didn't even wear my watch. I had no idea what pace I was on. All I knew was, I had tapered down right, and I had really trained hard to break 2 hours and 22 minutes. All I knew on that particular day, all I can say is the stars aligned, because we were running so fast, I didn't even realize how fast we were actually running. For me, it felt like a moderate effort for the most part. And I was running with the lead Kenyans, a Russian and a guy from Canada. And these guys were all 209, 208 to 214 types. And, prior to the start of that race, my PR was 240.02 from the 2007 Grandma's Marathon. So the only thing I knew going in was I had a 107.06 half that I dropped about 3 months prior to running that 2:19:35. So I knew I was capable of doing it. I was very confident. So you have to really continue to focus on building that speed development, continue to work on your track sessions where you're training much, much faster than sub 3 hour marathon pace. Again, it's 6:52 mile pace. So get accustomed to running down toward around 5:20 mile pace. If you're doing repeat miles, get to a point where you can do 6 1-mile repetitions on the track at around 5:20 mile pace. Again, you're training much, much faster than that goal sub 3 hour marathon pace. So again, it's going to make that race pace feel more moderate. And that's really the same philosophy I teach in these videos, are the same exact thing, same strategy I used to break 2 hours and 20 minutes. Again, doing a negative split is definitely, for most athletes, is the way to go, because again, you're holding back early in the race and really attacking in the second half. But some athletes, and I'm an example of that, will go out much faster the first half. They'll come back slower, but they'll still set a huge PR. So you just have to really make sure that you're like I talk about in other videos, make sure your volume is there, you're consistent on your mileage, you're running much longer tempo runs, you're paying attention to the things I talk about in other videos where you're not just sipping in the race, you're hydrating properly in the race. Far too many marathoners do not drink enough, and they do not take in enough calories trying to race 26.2 miles or 42.2 kilometers. It's not a 5K. So you have to pay attention to these things. And another big strategy tip here is stay as relaxed as you can prior to the start of the race and in the race. There's no sense whatsoever in being stressed out the morning of the race. Yeah, it's okay to have a little bit of nerves. It's okay. But if you look around you, you're going to see athletes all stressed out and tight. Relax. You've done everything in training. Make sure you make training the most difficult part of your preparation. That's how I did it. I didn't go from 243 to 219 overnight, but one thing I for sure made sure that I did was I was going to make training as difficult as I possibly could, because when I got to the race, there was nothing in that race that any of my competitors were going to throw at me if I got it right, that I wasn't going to be able to react to. And in California, in Sacramento at the California International Marathon on that particular morning in 2007, that was probably the best performance I ever dropped to date. And a lot of people talk smack about the California International Marathon. It's a net downhill course, much like Boston, but there were no super shoes when I ran 2007. In fact, I'm going to make another video in the coming weeks and show you guys and gals the shoes I was wearing when I ran 219. Props to all the athletes out there running in those Nike shoes. There's definitely greater technology. But I ran in a pair of Adidas Adi Zero shoes. They were more type like 3K to 5K type shoes. Looking back, I can't believe I even ran that marathon, that 219 in those shoes. But definitely, even if you're using the new technology type shoes, props to you all, because you still have to be in phenomenal, great shape to run a fast marathon or a 5K, 10K half marathon. The shoes don't make the man or the woman. It's the athlete that is putting in the proper preparation that is going to drop down a great performance. But definitely if you're trying to break a 3-hour marathon, you're going to have to do a lot of things right. It's a very fast time, very competitive time, as you all know. So you have to pay attention, not just the long runs that you're doing, faster paced long runs I talk about, but you have to pay attention to all the other factors. Proper sleep over a 16-week block of training. If, on all of my training plans and running courses, I focus on a 16-week block of training for the athletes that are prepping for these races that we focus on. Hydrating well in the race itself, not just sipping, making sure you're taking in enough fluids. And if you are worried about, well, I don't know really how much fluid I'm supposed to be taking in during a marathon, practice in training how much your stomach can take in. Do those long runs, drop a water bottle down every 3 miles or every 5 kilometers in your long run. That way you can catch, you can drink on the way out, and you can, on the way back, you can grab them again and drink more. Practice that over and over and over again. I talk about mental training. You cannot just do one part of this and break a 3-hour marathon and expect it to come to, become a reality. You have to pay attention to mental training just as much as you are your physical training. Most athletes that are watching these videos are very focused on the physical aspect. You all know how to do tempo runs. You all are very focused on doing, learning how to be much more anaerobically prepared as well as aerobically prepared. But it's this is going to make the difference between the average athletes and the great athletes. And every phenomenal athlete I've trained with, and athletes that are going under 3 hours, in my opinion, if you're breaking 3 hours, you're just about at that elite athlete level. You're breaking a time barrier that so few athletes around the world achieve each year. So in my eyes, a sub 3-hour marathoner, that's an elite athlete in my opinion. Now everybody's going to have a different viewpoint of that. Some think breaking 210 is elite. Some think breaking, would think 230, sub 230 is elite, sub 205. Very few athletes break 3 hours. So you have to do the things that are going to get you across the finish line in 2:59 or faster. Most importantly is your pacing in the race. Do not go out too aggressive unless you have done your homework and training. I do not advise any athlete that's trying to break 3 hours to go out, 115, 120 the first half. Far too aggressive. You'll blow up in the second half in most cases. Some athletes don't, but if you go out that fast, you're really going to have a hard time in the second half. Go out a little bit more conservative, but still aggressive, and making sure that you're staying as relaxed as you can. The facial muscles are the first to tense up. You're tensing up. The face muscles, the shoulders start to rise. You can consciously tell yourself, okay, I'm in control. I'm relaxed. I'm focused. I've done the work. And tell yourself those things, those positive affirmations as you're racing. Don't pass up the aid stations. Again, it's 26.2 miles, 42.2K. You have to do things smart in order to break 3 hours. So I'll continue to make a few more videos on this topic because I think it's very important. There are a lot of athletes really focused on running 2:59 or faster. But this is the sub 3-hour marathon strategy that I would aim at. Proper pacing, staying as relaxed as you possibly can. Try to relax the morning of the race. Make sure you're eating your breakfast at a minimum 2 hours, preferably 3 hours prior to the start of the race. That way you have plenty of time to digest your food, get rid of whatever, that's not necessary prior to the start of the race. That way you don't get in the race, you have to jump in a porta-john, waste, precious time on going to the bathroom when you could have done that prior to the start of the race. Those are the key things. In mental training, make sure you are visualizing yourself over, 10 to 15 minutes every single day consistently. Do not take a day off in terms of your mental preparation as well. You can't just, do 50% of the work and do the physical training and neglect what's probably the most important process of great marathoning, and that's mental preparation. I saw myself numerous times going under 2 hours and 22 minutes, seeing 2:21:59 on the clock. And I know that was a big part of me of getting across the finish line in Sacramento under 2 hours and 20 minutes. So the same with you. See yourself running in the 250s and running great, feeling confident, staying, watching yourself, in your mind's eye, running a great race. And that's my tips for this particular video. I hope it's helpful for you. If you have any other questions regarding the marathon or any event, feel free to leave me a comment in the comment section below. There's resources below all of my videos that are there for you to help take your racing and your training to the next level. And if you have any other questions, let me know, and I will talk to you all in the next video.